music is art and time with quantum phenomena. So, take it away.
All right, thank you. So if you don't know what this shaped right here is, this is the shape of a quantum computer, how they currently look in IBM's offices and stuff like this. Just to quickly explain what it is, so the guitar does not feature, neither does the face, usually, in IBM's devices. But it is a cooling system, actually, because there is a chip at the very bottom where I've drawn these squiggly lines that's doing all of these quantum computations. And the rest of it is actually just a fridge to get it down to as close to 0 Kelvin as possible, because it needs to be at superconducting temperatures in order to work. So that's why it looks like that. And just let's introduce first what this thing is then, a quantum computer. So any computer or mobile device or iPad and so on and so forth run on bits at the very, very base level. And a bit, what is that? That's just a value that is either 0 or 1. And then the word byte, which you may have heard more commonly, is just 8 bits in a row. And then you have stuff like a kilobyte, which is 1,000 bytes, so 8,000 bits, and so on and so forth upwards. When you come to the quantum computer, the main difference, or the fundamental difference from a classical computer, is that now the qubits, the quantum bits themselves, are run using quantum effects. So my own background, my master's degree was in quantum physics, so I tend to take this as a granted everyone knows what quantum physics is. Well, I'll try to, explain it as best as I can, but please, afterwards, if you have questions, come up to me and I'll try to explain it better. But there are two main ingredients in quantum physics. One of them is superposition, and from popular science, you may know this from Schrödinger's cat. It's either dead or alive, or both at the same time. But how can it be both at the same time, right? You can't be both dead and alive at the same time. But that's the idea with quantum effects. There can be two things at the same time, and it's two things at the same time, not in the sense of you just don't know which one it is, but in the sense that you can't explain the system without taking into account the fact that it is somehow two at the same time. So Schrödinger's cat is a thought experiment that one of the founders of quantum mechanics came up with to show that this is truly absurd. Which it kind of is, but you get used to it. The other ingredient you need is also known from popular science. It's called entanglement, and here I have shown it as a qubite with a bunch of qubits, and all of them run in superposition as shown in this sphere. But now they're entangled, shown by these spooky waves going between them. Entangled means that they are connected in a fundamental way, so that they cannot be described separately. Like you cannot describe this qubit without describing simultaneously all of the other qubits that it is connected together with. So I guess I should briefly explain what this sphere means. This is a common way to show superposition. So up is, of course, bit 1, down is bit 0, and as long as you're not looking at it, it can also be both at the same time on a unit sphere, and this is a complex number, so just like Mika was talking about, it involves imaginary numbers, which is in a way fascinating. Imaginary numbers are more than just in our heads. We actually need them to describe nature. Do they exist? I would say yes. But anyway, so this is a complex sphere, and this is all the possible, this arrow here is one of the possible superpositions that this qubit can exist in. So you get a lot more than just 0 and 1. And this is a power that these quantum computers want to extract to do computations that we can't do with normal classical computers. Now the fundamental thing, which is you have to keep in mind, is that the moment you look at it, it collapses to either 0 or 1. Just like with Schrödinger's cat, the moment you look at it, it is either dead or alive. But as long as you look away, and as long as you haven't looked at it before, it could in principle be both at the same time. But the moment you look at it, it collapses. That is either 0 or 1. So if you want to do a quantum computation, it's only quantum as long as you don't look at the actual computation. And at some point you perform a measurement and you get an outcome, which is randomized based on the states of the qubits. All right, so that's a crash course in quantum computing. You can do a whole semester of it. And again, ask me afterwards. I'll talk for 3 hours about this if you want me to. Anyway, what do we actually use these for? Why are they interesting? Why are people trying to build them? Well, first of all, you can do quantum simulations. This is actually very difficult to do classically because you have this huge space per bit of possible superpositions, and in addition to that, they can be entangled in non-separable ways, which means that the space of possible configurations of the quantum computation grows actually exponentially. Now I can use that word because it's already been explained. That's very nice. It grows exponentially. It grows as the number 2 to the power n, where n is the number of qubits you have. And this computation very quickly, like the largest quantum system that we can simulate with the best supercomputers in the world is roughly 30 qubits. But in order to do useful computation, you need maybe 20 million qubits. So it's like far beyond classical resources. So what can we do with this? We can do material design, and drug development are things that are very often highlighted. It all comes in under what I would call quantum chemistry. So quantum chemistry has this computational problem that there are very few quantum molecular systems that you can simulate because they grow too large too quickly. But with a quantum computer, it becomes easy. So we can use this to simulate nature. And of course, as an old physicist and turned mathematician myself, I'm more interested in this part, the fundamental science, right? So many of us have maybe heard of the problems with describing quantum gravity. Like we have an issue writing it down. Is it string theory? Is it not string theory? Is it loop quantum gravity? What is it? So I just took a picture of a black hole merger. So you have two black holes, they're colliding, they're making gravitational waves. There are definitely quantum effects happening here, but we don't know how to describe them. But maybe we can simulate them, maybe we can learn something. So that's very interesting to me. And of course, the most famous use of a quantum computer is to breach data security. So they can break cryptographic systems known as RSA, for instance, or Diffie-Hellman key exchange. And this is what NTNU are paying me to do right now, is to come up with better codes that are actually not broken by quantum computers. So that's my day-to-day job. Very fascinating stuff. But again, is there more? Like, this is clearly quantum stuff, but this part doesn't involve quantum at all. So maybe there is like one algorithm we know, and it's called Shor's algorithm, and that can do all of the stuff on the left-hand side. Factoring numbers and computing discrete logarithms, it's called, for those who are in the know. But like, there might be more undiscovered quantum algorithms out there that we just haven't found yet. This is tremendously exciting, right? So you want computer scientists who understand quantum physics, and this, to me, is where music comes in, because you want people with an intuition for quantum, like a physical intuition, in the same way as somebody playing an instrument, playing a guitar, for instance. They can hear music in their head, and then the fingers make it happen without a real brain-to-finger interface happening. Like, it's not a conscious effort. You just, if somebody is really mastering their instrument, that connection between hearing the music and making the music go, that's just automatic. So, could we make that sort of intuition happen for quantum algorithms as well? So, the question then becomes, can we learn to play the qubits? Like, you take these superposition states and you map them to sound. Now, people have done this. So here you see a guy, and this ring on his finger is actually a musical controller, and he's controlling software on his computer. You see that it is the same qubit sphere that I've been drawing over here, and he's rotating this sphere in three-dimensional complex space in order to hear how it affects how the qubit is affected by the different control, like rotating in phase space, as it's called, in order to gain an understanding, gain an intuition of what's going on here. So you can check this out on YouTube, on sounding qubits. But this is, in one way, this is like, I would say, music-inspired quantum understanding, if you know what I mean. Like, you're applying music to understand quantum better. But can you go the other way around? Can you apply quantum to make new kinds of music? So this is what I call quantum sheet music, and this is what interests me the most. So quantum systems are inherently probabilistic. They are not deterministic. So you could, in principle, write down a set of instructions, like I've done here. This is from the IBM web pages. They have a software called the Quantum Composer, which you can use to run quantum programs. And you know, it kind of looks like sheet music, right? So you just put all of these quantum gates in here, and now this what I've done here, this can be read by a quantum computer. I can log in online and I can send it to a quantum computer for free using IBM services. They are available online, and get the results back. And then when you get the results back, can we map that to music and make, ideally, a piece of music that that changes every time you hear it. So, okay, just to explain what these figures mean, this is a set of instructions on 4 different qubits. Qubit 1, or 0, 1, 2, 3 here. At the end here, they are measured, and you know, when they are measured, they collapse, like I said. You view the cat as being either dead or alive by a certain probability distribution. The probability distribution is given here, so you see either this one, this one, this one, or this one, but none of the in-between values. And over here, using colors, they have drawn the phase space, like where in the complex space each of these qubits sit at the moment of being measured. So all of this is, you know, it takes, even for me with a master's degree in this stuff, it takes a while to wrap your head around. So playing around with it, I find, is very fun. And then when you measure it, can you map this stuff to music? So that's what I've been doing recently. So this is actually the end of my slides. But I thought I wanted to show you, okay, I need to turn the volume down. I wanted to show you what I've been doing lately. So this is a program called Max. I don't expect you to understand it, I barely understand it myself. But what I've done is a simple idea. This is the online service that I was talking about. So I've made 2 circuits. Each of them play 1 note, according to this distribution here. This is circuit 1, and this is circuit 2. So you see circuit 1 comes first, and then I measure that part, and circuit 2 kind of adds on to the previous one, and then you measure that part as well. And in this very complicated program here, you see that the measurement comes out here, and then each of these lines are basically just saying, if you read this value, output this note, which is a C. If you read this value, output a D, E, F, G, and so on. And the circuits themselves, you can use this drag and drop interface to make them, and then it will output code on the right-hand side there, which I can put into my program, which is what you see here. So this is the first part of the code, and this is the second part of the code. So my vision of a full non-deterministic sheet music has not really come to fruition yet. These are baby steps. I'm still experimenting with this. But let's see if we can make it work. So, do we have sound?
Yes.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
All right.
Louder.
Louder? Okay, I have a suspicion that we're still using the wrong audio interface, but allow me to fix that myself. Don't turn up too much because it's going to...
Turn it down.
Okay, yeah. This is supposed to be here. Okay, now it's on the speakers, right? So now I just used the initialize function where the probability distribution is 100% probability that it will reach the value C. And what I tried to do with these ones was to make it sound nice, to ensure that the probability distribution hits one of the notes in the C major scale, with a possible exception. And so let's see what happens. Okay, now it changed. So now it outputs 0111, which is this one. Okay, so it's a G, right? That sounds nice. And then for the next one, you get something higher. So it sampled, the first part sampled from this distribution, so it's a low note. And the second part sampled from this distribution, so it's a high note. Which one exactly is it? It's actually the highest. You can see here, it's 1111, so it's over there, so it's a D sharp. So that's actually the only note that lies outside of C major, but that's another nerdy part. Point being, if I reinitialize this and keep playing, I get a different result each time. And in that way, in principle at least, if I can make this a bit more user-friendly, I could build quantum sheet music that I could feed into a quantum computer and get a non-deterministic result, changing every time but still being the same composition. So that's my vision. I didn't quite get there, but these are the first steps to that direction. So thank you very much. And once again, we don't do questions on stage, but please do find me afterwards. I'd love to talk more about this.